What is up, everybody? Welcome to StreamPunk Entertainment's Eagles post-game show. I am Steven. I am being joined by Mitch Kofsky of StreamPunk Entertainment and Hardcore Sports Entertainment. How you feeling, dude? Eagles get the big win, Super Bowl preview.
Eagles get the win and Michigan gets the win, so I'm happy. I'm so happy right now.
Hit me with it. Not even 2 minutes in. Not even 2 minutes into the show.
Dude.
Well played.
No. One of my content creator friends, he's a huge Ohio State guy. Each time he tweeted, I put a Michigan gif. Each time.
It was hard, but then this happens, right? We get the Eagles get this win.
Yeah.
Instant reactions to from beginning to end. How are you feeling now after Eagles moved to 10-2, big win over the Ravens?
Saquon Barkley, man. Saquon Barkley is the MVP. This whole game, they weren't using him. He wasn't out there on the field as much. And then the very last drive, he just goes right in for the touchdown. And he has over 1,500 yards on the season already. So, Saquon Barkley's the real MVP. That's my first takeaway of it.
Yeah, and with all the different MVP candidates in this game, right? You had Jalen, who's probably further down on the list, but then you're going up against two top-tier MVP caliber players in Lamar and Derrick Henry. We'll get into the box score later, but let's start breaking down this game and how things played out. So you had the Eagles. They were on a 7-game win streak, now 8-game win streak. Ravens really needing to get this win in order to keep up with the Steelers in their division, who won today. They came out and kind of looked pretty decent, right? They go up 9-0. They get the field goal and then they get the touchdown. What were your thoughts after that Mark Andrews touchdown catch from Lamar? How are you feeling?
I was just like, it's Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends in the league. He was bound to get one, right? He was just bound to get one, but how were we going to respond? That's how I took it. Right. And the Eagles responded well. Dallas Goedert getting a touchdown. So the Eagles responded well. And I just knew Andrews was due for one. He was due. And with our linebackers, we're pretty small. I mean, we can get to the quarterback, but when it comes to coverage, I'm not liking it right there from them. So, yeah, that's how I take it.
And they were moving the ball pretty well in that first quarter. The Eagles didn't do a damn thing in that first quarter. I mean, I think they actually had more penalties in the first quarter than they did total yards, right? They were riddled by them in the first quarter. What were your thoughts when you constantly kept seeing that in the first quarter?
It's just like the flags, man. It's just like one after the other, after the other, after the other. I would love to know how many flags there were in the first quarter, because that felt like a world record. Like
6.
Each second, it was 6.
6. It would have been 7, but the Ravens declined on 1. So
there you go.
All in the first quarter. All in the first quarter.
Oh my God! But yeah, man, they could not catch a break with those flags. I'm telling you, Twitter's gonna go off on referees the whole entire day. It's just like it's not going our way. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And so the Eagles, then the second quarter starts. The Eagles get they get their second first down finally. The first 3 drives were punts, and then they get that one punt that that rolled down to the goal line, essentially to the half-yard line. And it kind of switched momentum, I feel like, a little bit, because they were able to force the 3-and-out for the Ravens. They got the good field position. I think they started on the Ravens 49-yard line.
Yep.
And then that's what led to the Dallas Goedert touchdown. Jalen Hurts, finally, he was connecting with A.J. Brown that drive, and they found something. They found something on that drive, on the Dallas Goedert drive. I think it was his second of the season. You talked about it when the show started. What I think he left the game with an injury. What were your thoughts on him, on Goddard, AJ Brown, with Smith being out for the second consecutive game? What were your thoughts on the receiving group?
Hey, Goddard stepped up because whenever Smith or AJ Brown are out, they look at Goddard.
Yeah.
Like that one game when Smith and Brown were out. When both of them were out, Goddard had a great game. He scored a touchdown in a much needed spot, and then he goes off with an injury, and that brings up the case. This guy can never stay healthy. This guy can never stay healthy, no matter what time it is, no matter what it is. It's just unlucky. But hey, he came up huge when he was on the field. AJ Brown's just doing AJ Brown things. Like, I've always said this, and I'm going to stick by it. This is AJ Brown's team. It's not Saquon Barkley's. What I mean by that is that when Jalen Hurts, what's up, man? Good to meet you. Whenever AJ Brown is off the field, you see Jalen Hurts kind of sketch, doesn't know where to throw the ball,
Right.
just looking really nervous in the pocket. So AJ Brown is just like a real difference maker for this team, and he showed it. He showed it today.
No, I agree. What's going on, Swerve? Everyone, we're being joined by Swerve, another StreamPunk Entertainment a content guy who does Eagles post-game show. Welcome to the post-game show, Swerve. What are your instant reactions to the Eagles win?
First off, thank you guys for having me.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Absolutely.
Dude, like realistically, all week, I'm in Delaware, and I'm right near the Maryland line. So I live around, it's like 50-50. Like
okay.
this south of where I live is like Ravens fans, north of where I live, Eagles fans, right? So this week, the Ravens fans going into it were really, 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 really comfortable. And everywhere I went out, they were like, we're going to get you on Sunday. We're going to get you on Sunday. And I was just like going into the game, this was my belief. I thought the Eagles' offensive line was better than the Ravens' defensive line. I thought prior to going into LA, I thought the Eagles' defensive line was better than the Ravens' offensive line.
Yep.
We lost Brandon Graham, so I'm like, how do we replace that, right?
Right.
So, but I still thought the defensive line was better than the Ravens' offensive line. I said this was going to determine the game, especially without Smith playing. I said if Smith is healthy, we will win by double digits. Without Smith being healthy, it was going to be how did A.J. Brown perform versus the Ravens secondary, and how do our linebackers cover the Ravens tight ends? And whatever unit did better against whatever receiver was going to win the game. Because I felt like with Lively and Andrews, those guys are both really good tight ends.
Yeah.
And our linebackers have been playing outstanding, but honestly, neither one of them are great in coverage. So it was like, could our defensive line get home before if they came out in 12 and just crossed us and made us? Yeah. And then you got Zay Flowers who can cross. So it was just basically, if our linebackers could cover their tight ends better than their secondary could cover A.J. Brown, and if we could, we will win the game. Like, the defense, I wasn't a believer, like, because we played a lot of horrible offensive teams.
Yep.
And during this run, we've played like really bad offensive teams. And then like I wanted to believe, but then I watched how Jacksonville was able to come back, and then you look at how certain times where we get up and then we allow them to come back even with those guys on the field. But this defense went out tonight and they said, we are for real.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing I took from this game was that defense, because Vic's defenses in the past have struggled against Lamar. This defense went out today and they let the 31 other teams know that, hey, we are for real. Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson did whatever they wanted to against whoever they played. And tonight, Lamar had a few, that 31-yard pass on third and whenever was fantastic. Like, it was great. Like,
Yeah.
but after the first quarter, this defense locked in and they let everybody know, it's just not when we're up big or whatever. That defensive line, kudos to the defensive line, the linebackers, kudos to everybody. I'm sorry I went on a tangent.
No, you're good.
No, you're good, dude. You're good.
That defensive line, like, they played a complete game. I just wish we could start in the first quarter. Like, I swear, I was watching a game and I said, I'm around a bunch of Ravens fans and they're all hype, and I was like, dude, we're only down 9-0. This is the perfect place for me, because I know that watching this team, they own the second half, and if they can get anything in that second quarter going, we're going to turn it around. And we're gonna turn whatever happened in the first quarter. We're gonna make good on it, and the outcome is gonna be positive. Like, I have that belief, which as a lifetime Eagles fans, I haven't had that belief before. But that's one of the good things I developed this year. Like, hey, we're only down 9 at the end of the first.
And that's
this is our game.
And that's what now 8-game winning streak can do to the mindset of the fan base, you know? So let's get into some of these comments. Kyle K, huge win. Absolutely. We keep talking about it. Marshawn, Saquon. Yes, we were talking about it earlier, Marshawn, that Mitch brought it up. MVP got to be the front runner now before Josh Allen goes out and plays the night. Saquon with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts all on display. Saquon stood above the rest. Quickly, Swerve, what are your thoughts on what Saquon was able to do throughout the 4 quarters?
So, I am so happy that the Eagles signed Saquon when, in the offseason. And I am so happy that after the bye, I have a number in my head, and I've literally lived by this number. And the number is 32. And that the number 32 is Jalen Hurts' passing attempts. Normally, when Jalen Hurts throws less than 32 passing attempts, the Eagles probably win 85% of their games when Jalen Hurts throws less than 32 passing attempts, since he's become a full-time starter. So we have Miles Sanders, who was great during the Super Bowl year. And then when Jalen Hurts was throwing less than 32 times a game. Then last year, I think what happened last year is they signed the kid to the big deal, and they want to justify why. You kind of want to justify why you're paying this guy $250 whatever million dollars, right? So you drop him back a little more than you should on 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s when the touch push is pretty much automatic. But this year, you sign Saquon and you make him. Well, technically, he's making less money than Adrian Peterson made the year he
won MVP.
He won MVP. But you pay a running back and you bring him in. and you don't figure it out because I treated the first 4 weeks like preseason. So you didn't figure it out. But then the bye week, you figure it out. Hey, we got a top 4 offensive line, and I felt Saquon. I'm on record for this. We can pull up video. When the Eagles signed Saquon, I said he's going to be our Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be the difference maker. He's going to be the guy that puts us over the top, right? So you sign that guy. And then the first 4 weeks, you had to figure out the offense. Kellen Moore, Sirianni had to figure out the offense. 32. If Hurts isn't dropping back 32 times, that means they're handing the ball off to 26. Or even if you watch last week, Gainwell came in and he gashed them. Like that's because 26 is softened it up. And I think when they signed him, I said he was going to be the offensive player of the year at least and a MVP candidate. But right now, if you look at everything after Lamar, you had Lamar and Derek, who are both MVP candidates. And I think Josh Allen is the only real competition, and Josh Allen played amazing last week against Kansas City. I think it's Josh Allen and Saquon right now, and whoever has the best few 5 games left. We got 5 games left between them. Josh Allen always plays well against the Chiefs in the regular season, and that run to ice the game last week was amazing. It was Josh Allen. Like that's what we expect from Josh Allen. But I think like it's a quarterback award, but the best player in the league, if we're doing it off strictly the best player in the league, Saquon after this week should be the favorite. But if we're gonna go back, Aaron Donald should be the MVP. Aaron Donald should have been the MVP 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's get back into some of these comments. Mike Green, Barkley won that game, like what Swerve's talking about, not our quarterback. Marshawn Swerve, a massive doubter. Mike Green, Tucker missed the onside kick. Yeah, no, let's talk about Tucker for a moment. Mitch, I'm going to pose this question to you. Do you feel like if some of those field goals go in, I mean, he missed two field goals and an extra point. That's 7 points right there. Do you think that the Tucker missing those, it was more the Ravens mess ups or the Ravens falling short than it was the Eagles doing anything?
I just think it was just the Ravens mess up, man. Something's up with Justin Tucker. Like he was the greatest kicker of all time, and then now it's just like he can't nail a kick. It's like what happened with Ben Simmons. He couldn't make a shot, and then now he can't make a layup. So it's just like I have no clue what's going on with Tucker, but it's more on the Ravens side because they let up 9. What's it 9 or 2 field goals? 7. I think he let 7. Yeah,
a touchdown. They let a touchdown on the board.
Yeah.
With those mistakes. And I can't talk more about Jalen Carter and the menace he is on that defensive line. We've talked about it before, Mitch. Swerve, what are your thoughts on Jalen Carter and what he was able to do at moments to disturb Lamar today and get him out of a rhythm?
So I mentioned Aaron Donald a few minutes ago. He reminds me so much of Aaron Donald. And it's just like the dude is disruptive. And what has made the Eagles great in this streak is that I think he learned that, hey, the other players realize that if Carter's getting double teamed, that means
every time
I'm getting one-on-ones. And the other players on that line have been winning their one-on-ones. Like whatever after the break they've been. Milton Williams is playing outstanding football right now.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Davis today. His job was just to and I was going to get to that later, but you brought it up. Jordan Davis was the guy the Ravens double teamed today a lot in the run game, and I left Carter 1-on-1. And Jalen Carter 1-on-1, I will take that. If you're going to say we got to move the big guy, we got to double team the run stopper, and that leaves Jalen Carter 1-on-1. Jalen Carter made plays. That play on Zay Flowers was
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah.
that was big.
He's been so disruptive. He's just he's he's unblockable. And I look back on it, and I just was looking at it like I look at the list of the guys they took before Carter and let him fall to us, and I am grateful. Thank you, everybody, before the Eagles in that draft, because you just gave us the best interior lineman, and he's going to be what if his head is in the game, he's going to be the best interior lineman for the next 5-6 years, beyond a doubt. Like Jalen
Yep.
Carter flashes, he reminds me of Aaron Donald. But what's crazy is I think he's better against the run than Donald was, but he's just as great as a pass rusher. Like I believe if we could let Jalen Carter loose, he could get 6 or 7 sacks from the defensive tackle position. But I also before every year Vic has come to a new team, he's unlocked the potential of a defensive tackle. I think it's just the perfect combination of Jalen Carter and a Fangio defense because what was it? Christian Wilkinson went crazy and Miami when Vic was there for a year. And then we had where was Vic? There was a defensive tackle that went crazy in Denver playing next to Von Miller. But I think it's the combination of Fangio and Carter has been excellent. And
Yeah.
I'm
And
impressed.
another player who's blown up this year under Fangio is Zach Bond.
Yeah.
Mitch, how do you think he played today? What were your thoughts on him overall? He had a huge sack. He's always flying all over the place. What were your thoughts on Bond?
We just needed a linebacker. Now we got one. Like, about time. Like, people are going to discover fear. They're going to be afraid of this guy. They're going to be afraid of him. Nakobe Dean has been stepping up as well from time to time. But with Zach Bond, it's just unreal. He wasn't even supposed to be like this.
No, you got to pay him. You got to lock him up. Swerve, what are your thoughts on Bond?
They should have been. I would have paid him after like week 4. Yeah, because what did they say? If you guys are familiar with the wire, the price of a brick today is not the price of a brick it was yesterday. So today's price is not yesterday's price, and the more you have gone on without paying this guy, it just goes up. And like I look back at it, like I follow him in New Orleans and in Wisconsin. He was more of an edge rusher type of guy. Like this is the first season with him playing off the ball. And he has been like if the season ended tomorrow, he's definitely all pro. He's not a pro bowler. He's arguably a first team all pro linebacker.
Yeah.
Uh, if I would if the season ended today, he's all pro, first team, second team. He's on that team. He's outplayed every big name linebacker we can think. Every big name off the ball linebacker we could think of. Braun has outplayed them right now.
Oh, Swerve, you got a fan. You got a fan.
He is definitely worth. I hope something has happened behind the scenes, and we're just waiting to hear that Braun is here for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But realistically, kid off the ball is amazing. He wasn't bad in New Orleans, but whoever bought him here, I don't know if it was Vandy, I don't know who it was that said, we're going to bring this guy in and he's going to play off the ball and he's going to be shout to them. Like when they released Devin White many, many months ago, and everybody
Yeah.
was like, "What are you doing releasing Devin
Yep.
White?
Yeah.
Like, how do you release this guy?" Obviously, they seen something in this guy,
Correct.
and he has been amazing. The fact that N'Kobe, I thought would be good, but N'Kobe has exceeded my expectations. And those two together, they're really, really,
Yeah.
really good. They remind me. Baltimore had Queen and Smith last year,
Yep. And Queen went to
and
went to
and
Pittsburgh.
Queen went to Pittsburgh. But
Yep.
like I watch way too much football. If you guys can't tell, they had Queen and Smith last year, and those two were really, really good. And they just vibe. It's a vibe. And I think Dean and Raw have that vibe. And we're really good. And we're really good. And I hope we resign him. Bring him back. I don't wanna we had a Wisconsin kid in TJ and we let TJ go get paid. Don't let Brown go get paid. Don't let him leave the
Yeah.
city.
Don't let him go elsewhere
No.
and get paid.
Yeah. Don't let
So with this one, my takeaway, the defense, right? The defense, two top offenses, two teams that have stellar defenders that can take over games, and the Eagles got the best of the Ravens in a possible Super Bowl preview. That last drive by Likely, yeah, it's 19 points on the scoreboard, but realistically, this was a 24-12 game where the Eagles and Fangio, they had a good game plan. Heading into now a much weaker opponent in the Panthers next week, but they've been giving teams hell. Look what they did a few games ago against Kansas City. They gave the Bucks a run for their money. Tonight we're gonna go through the scoreboard here quick. But Mitch, what are your thoughts now heading into Carolina next week? Is this a trap game with an opponent like that, or do you see the Eagles continuing and making this 9 games in a row?
It just comes down to the first quarter, man. It's just if we could start off on the right foot, we're good. It's just like I don't even know how many games it's been where we hadn't gotten off the right foot. So if they get off the right foot, they should be fine. But it could be a trap game. The Panthers just beat the Buccaneers today. Like they just won how many games now? 3, 4, something like that. So
They forced them to overtime. Bucks won in overtime, but
I thought the Panthers won. My bad.
no, but regardless, the fact that they're pushing these teams to the limit every single game, they're playing the spoiler for possible playoff teams now. So I want to go across the league, the scoreboard. We had the Thanksgiving game, Dallas versus the Giants. Dallas won 27-20. No real threat there in the NFC East to the Eagles. You had the Bucks beat the Panthers 26-23 in overtime. The other two Thanksgiving games, the Lions and Bears. Lions beat the Bears 23-20, and then the Packers, they're the other team in the NFC North. They get the win 30-17. Quickly, your guys' thoughts. Swerve, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts on that NFC North and what those three teams are doing? The Packers, Lions, and Detroit, and those are Minnesota. Sorry, being the kind of the three teams in front of the Eagles in the NFC.
So I'm an Eagles fan. We're here because we're Eagles fans, right? But I literally give non-biased opinions on every team except Dallas because I don't
Right.
care how good Dallas is, they suck.
Yeah.
I watched the Lions game on Thursday, and I really like the Lions are a really good football team, right?
Yeah.
So They run the ball. They can pass the ball with Brown and Williams and Laporta. They're a really good football. The Lions are a really, really good football team. The Eagles will
My
beat
bad.
the Lions.
No,
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Sorry about that.
So like the Eagles have the second best offensive line in football. The Detroit Lions have a slightly better offensive line. I've watched Detroit a few times this year where they get up or they're in a game. Like the Bears should have won that game. Like the
Yeah.
Bears should whatever the adjustments, and I know what the Bears did, but we don't have time to talk about what the Bears did. But the Bears adjusted at halftime and made the Lions really uncomfortable, and the Lions didn't have an answer for that. And it like and I'm not saying this because I'm an Eagles fan, because I love Andy Reid, and I think the Chiefs are the most vulnerable they've been in the last 3 or 4 years. And it's not a cakewalk. I believe Buffalo's really good. I believe Buffalo or Baltimore. This is the year Buffalo or Baltimore can go into Kansas City and actually win the game. And I love Andy Reid. Like watching Detroit. Dan Campbell's. He's a gambler. I respect it. They've taken on his identity. They play just like Baltimore. We're going to punch you. We're going to punch on you and punch on you and punch on you and punch on you until you don't respond. And that's what the Eagles have done this last 8 weeks. It's the same thing. I believe if we get to that type of game with Detroit, the Eagles win that game, because I've seen a lot of quit in Detroit against Chicago. Like if that game would, if there was 3 minutes, like if there was another minute and a half left in that game, it's no doubt in my mind Chicago wins that game, because Detroit was tired of getting punched on because they're used to being the bully. And I don't think this Eagles team, after seeing this defense to tonight, I don't care where they play. If that defense shows up, if that defense that showed up tonight, if I can take that defense on the road, I'm cool going wherever to play.
And Mitch, your thoughts on that NFC North and what they're doing in the threat they pose to the Eagles.
Oh my God, that division is just crazy. I was talking about it with my dad earlier, and it was just like the Vikings are playing unbelievable with Sam Darnold. And then the Lions, they built a perfect team. If you want to compare them to the NBA, they're the Oklahoma City Thunder of the NFL. Like the rebuild process, everything is great. The Packers are just right there, man. Jordan Love and that defense is just like ecstatic. So something to look out for, definitely.
And that division it's going to come down to like last team standing, because I'm pretty sure they all got to play each other one more time in these final 5 weeks of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how those teams then entering the playoffs, how either banged up or just how those legs do when with the NFC East and how it's looking. The Eagles, they have this thing wrapped up.
Detroit does play Buffalo.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But Detroit does play Buffalo, I think, next week.
See, yep.
So that could be huge.
Don't they play the line? Don't they play? Who plays the Packers? I thought Detroit plays the Packers on Thursday, right?
Yeah, Packers Thursday.
The Lions Packers play on Thursday, but I think Detroit follows up with Buffalo. Detroit has Buffalo the following week.
So serious games. Those are some serious games, that playoff games. Every game's like a playoff game for them. Yep.
I'm almost sure Detroit plays Buffalo in the next 3 weeks.
I'm going to run through the rest of these scores and wrap this one up. Then the Raiders and Chiefs, you had that Black Friday game. Chiefs won. They squeaked by again for another win, 19-17. Colts get the 2-point conversion to end that one and get the 1-point win over the Patriots, 25-24. Steelers continue to have this surprise season up there in the AFC. They get the win over the Bengals, 44-38. They are wasting Burrow and Chase and Higgins and in their years over there. I really do feel bad for those guys. Chargers get the win over the Falcons, 17-13. Seahawks get the win over the Jets, 26-21. Jags lose to the Texans, 23-20. Vikings get the win, 1-point win. We were just talking about them, 23-22 over the Cardinals. Commanders put a beat down on the Titans, 42-19. Last thoughts here on the Commanders as we wrap up, as this being the last NFC East team. Is there a chance, Mitch, I'll go to you first. Is there a chance that the Commanders find themselves a threat to the Eagles here in these final few weeks of the season?
It is possible, but who are they playing next? That's my question. Who is on their schedule? Because they play the Lions, I think, already, right?
Here, I'll get you here.
Yeah.
So they got let's see, they got the Saints. They got a bye week next week. Then they got the Saints, Eagles week 16, 3 days before Christmas, and then they finish off with Atlanta and Dallas.
They can win a couple of those games. They can definitely win a couple of those games, and they'll be right there in the battle for the wild card. So they can be a threat to the Eagles. They can still be a threat.
Swerve, finish up with you. What do you got on the Commanders?
No.
Nice.
No. Here's why. No, here's why. Realistically, they showed up to Philly with these huge expectations, and again, it goes back to bully ball. The Eagles have bullied them. As far as the division, there's not a shot. I think the Eagles, they play the Panthers next week. If the Eagles beat the Panthers next week, that'll put them. They'll still be 3, and they have Pittsburgh, the Giants, Washington, and Dallas left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Commanders can win.
They can't keep up.
They can't keep up. Like, even if the Commanders win out after next week, there's not a chance that they can win the division. And
this win for the Eagles kind of allowed them to control their own destiny now, right? Heading in, right?
And then you play the Panthers. If they win next week, there's not a chance, which they should win next week. The Panthers have been that thorn, but if they win next week, it's no way the Commanders can win the division. If they come in as a wild card, they'll probably be the 7. They'll probably be the 7 based on whatever's going on in the North with the Packers and the Vikings. So that means they then again would have to come to Philadelphia.
Yep.
If the Eagles don't beat Detroit and on wild card weekend and win a game in Philadelphia with that team, which I don't believe they can do. I'm not setting it in stone because anything can happen, but I'm just saying that going forward with the schedules, if you look at each team's schedule, it's Philadelphia. And then if Philadelphia doesn't catch Detroit, who plays Green Bay, go Packers on Thursday, and then they come back around on the 15th and play the Bills at home, go Bills. I think those are both 2 games where the Lions could lose. And if the Eagles handle business, they can take over the number 1 seed. But if that doesn't happen, the Eagles are pretty much a lock for the 2 seed because the West is horrible and the South is horrible. So the Eagles are, if whoever wins the NFC East, let's just say whoever wins the NFC East is pretty much a lock for the 2 seed.
Prime position.
Yeah. So if Washington, let's say Washington wins out, and the wild card teams are Minnesota, Green Bay, and Washington. That means Washington has to go to Philadelphia for the wild card weekend. Do you believe Washington could come into Philadelphia and beat that Eagles team?
No, not the way they're playing. Not the way they're
not
playing.
The way they're playing right now. Not the way they're playing right now. So I don't believe in Washington at this particular moment. But we do have 5 more weeks left, and maybe things change. At this moment, if you told me Washington was coming into Philadelphia, if you told me any team other than the Lions were coming into Philadelphia at this point, I wouldn't have. I'd sleep well, and I believe the Eagles are at least a 4.5 point favorite.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah. We're gonna wrap this one up so we can get to watch this snow game in what's going on Buffalo and the Niners. Mitch, where can everyone find you?
So you can find me here on StreamPunk Entertainment every Thursday, Fly Like an Eagle podcast. I also do the 6-6 post games, Hardcore Sports Network, Mitch Topsy, MK Meets World, Second Saddle. You know where it is.
He's everywhere. Swerve, what about you? Where can everyone watching find you and what you're doing?
You can find me on Philly Podcast. You can find me on Because I Feel Like It. You can find me on Facebook, Swerve Griffin. I'm around. I might not be out, but I'm around. Go Birds. Sixers. Hey, Sixers fans, don't panic. Because don't panic. We are good. We are good. We're gonna finish high. We're not gonna be in the play-ins, but I believe once everybody gets together, we're gonna be great. And I'm just around. I'm having the best time of my life. Best 8 weeks. Best 8 weeks of the year. Win streak. Hey. But thank you guys for having me. I definitely enjoyed myself. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely.
And again, Because I Feel Like It, Philly the podcast. You can find me and my fellas discussing all Philly sports.
Nice. So, guys, make sure you guys go follow Swerve there. You can find myself at Soldier Steve 247, and of course doing post game shows for StreamPunk Entertainment. We got one more comment coming in right before we go. Kyle K, the Eagles doing well this season. Now they need to actually do this in the playoffs as well. Yeah, so that's the goal now, and they're doing it. They did it today against a very formidable opponent in the Ravens. They get the win 24-19. Thank you, everyone, for joining the show. For myself, Mitch, and Swerve, and StreamPunk, we are out.
Good night.